Wisdom of the Middle Way. Nagarjuna's Mulamadhyamakakarika. Translation and commentary by J. L. Garfield, Part 1, the text of Mulamadhyamakakarika. Chapter 25, Examination of Nirvana 1. If all this is empty, then there is no arising or passing away. By the relinquishing or ceasing of what does one wish nirvana to arise? 2. If all this is non-empty, then there is no arising or passing away. By the relinquishing or ceasing of what does one wish nirvana to arise? 3. Unrelinquished, unattained, unannihilated, not permanent, unarisen, unceased, this is how nirvana is described. 4. Nirvana is not existent. It would then have the characteristics of age and death. There is no existent entity without age and death. 5. If nirvana were existent, nirvana would be compounded. A non-compounded existent does not exist anywhere. 6. If nirvana were existent, how could nirvana be non-dependent? A non-dependent existent does not exist anywhere.
7. If nirvana were not existent, how could it be appropriate for it to be non-existent? Where nirvana is not existent, it cannot be a non-existent. 8. If nirvana were not existent, how could nirvana be non-dependent? Whatever is non-dependent is not non-existent. 9. That which comes and goes is dependent and changing. That, when it is not dependent and changing, is taught to be nirvana. 10. The teacher has spoken of relinquishing becoming and dissolution. Therefore, it makes sense that nirvana is neither existent nor non-existent. 11. If nirvana were both existent and non-existent, passing beyond would, impossibly, be both existent and non-existent. 12. If nirvana were both existent and non-existent, nirvana would not be non-dependent, since it would depend on both of these. 13. How could nirvana be both existent and non-existent? Nirvana is uncompounded. Both existence and non-existence are compounded. 14. How could nirvana be both existent and non-existent? These two cannot be in the same place. Like light and darkness. 15. Nirvana is said to be neither existent nor non-existent. If the existent and the non-existent were established, this would be established.
16. If nirvana is neither existent nor non-existent, then by whom is it expounded, neither existent nor non-existent? 17. Having passed into nirvana, the victorious conqueror is neither said to be existent nor said to be non-existent. Neither both nor neither are said. 18. So, when the victorious one abides, he is neither said to be existent nor said to be non-existent. Neither both nor neither are said. 19. There is not the slightest difference between cyclic existence and nirvana. There is not the slightest difference between nirvana and cyclic existence. 20. Whatever is the limit of nirvana, that is the limit of cyclic existence. There is not even the slightest difference between them, or even the subtlest thing. 21. Views that after cessation there is a limit, etc., and that it is permanent, etc., depend upon nirvana, the final limit and the prior limit.
22. Since all existents are empty, what is finite or infinite? What is finite and infinite? What is neither finite nor infinite? 23. What is identical and what is different? What is permanent and what is impermanent? What is both permanent and impermanent? What is neither? 24. The pacification of all objectification and the pacification of illusion. No Dharma was taught by the Buddha at any time, in any place, to any person.
Chapter 26, Examination of the 12 Links 1. Wrapped in the darkness of ignorance, one performs the three kinds of actions which as dispositions impel one to continue to future existences. 2. Having dispositions as its conditions, consciousness enters transmigration. Once consciousness has entered transmigration, name and form come to be. 3. Once name and form come to be, the six sense spheres come into being. Depending on the six sense spheres, contact comes into being. 4. That is only dependent on I and form and apprehension. thus, depending on name and form, and which produces consciousness 5. That which is assembled from the 3 I and form and consciousness, is contact. From contact feeling comes to be.
6. Conditioned by feeling is craving. Craving arises because of feeling. When it appears, there is grasping, the 4 spheres of grasping.
7. When there is grasping, the grasper comes into existence. If he did not grasp, then being freed, he would not come into existence. 8. This existence is also the 5 aggregates. From existence comes birth, old age and death and misery and suffering and grief and 9. Confusion and agitation. All these arise as a consequence of birth. Thus this entire mass of suffering comes into being. 10. The root of cyclic existence is action. Therefore, the wise one does not act. Therefore, the unwise is the agent. The wise one is not because of his insight. 11. With the cessation of ignorance, action will not arise. The cessation of ignorance occurs through meditation and wisdom. 12. Through the cessation of this and that will not be manifest. The entire mass of suffering indeed thereby completely ceases.